Okay, Algebra 8, we are moving on to section 2.8, solving two-step equations. So you guys have worked with solving two-step equations before. In 7th grade, we did it just a little bit. So we're going to practice solving these equations here. So the first one, I start us off with a word problem. It says the Kerr family spent $52 for circus tickets. The cost included a $3.25 service fee for the order. So when they made the order, they have to pay this. And then the circus tickets cost $9.75 each. How many tickets did the Kerrs buy? Justify your answer. So one thing, if I have a word problem, I do try to set it up in words first. So we know that we had to pay the service fee plus the tickets, and that was going to give us the total that we spent. Okay, or the Kerr family spent. So they had a service fee of $3.25. We know that each ticket costs $9.75, but what we don't know is how many tickets they bought. So I did $9.75 times T. We do know that they spent $52. So I can put that there. Okay, so when we look at this problem, again, I like to draw my line, locate my variable. The variable is being multiplied and then being added. So when you undo operations, you have to do them in the reverse order. So first we have to move the 325 over, and so the opposite of addition is going to be subtraction, and then we'll divide. So I'm going to subtract the 325 from both sides. Well, this gives us 9.75 t equals, and if I do my subtraction here, I have to borrow from my 2 first, sorry. Okay, so 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7. I can't take 1 minus 3, so I had to borrow. 11 minus 3 gives us 8, and then we get a 4. Now, to get t by itself, t is being multiplied. Remember, if they're touching, so I'm going to divide. Now, because this is kind of a division problem that I don't necessarily want to do longhand, if I did this, I'd have to figure out how many times 975 went into 4,875. So I'm going to use a guess and check method. 975 is close to 10. Okay, we're talking about tickets, so they should be nice numbers. 48 is also close to 50. So I'm going to take this times 5, and I'm just going to see if this comes out nice. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 gives me 37. And 9 times 5 is 45, plus 3 gives me 48. I move my 2 places for my decimal, and I end up getting 48.75. So I know that t equals, these cancel here, 5 tickets. So sometimes when you're working with word problems, it's almost to your advantage because you can do some estimating, and even though the operation was division, I know that multiplication will give me a similar, I can find the answer that way too. Okay, so the biggest thing when you are solving two-step equations is to, figure out each side of the equation, locate your variable, and then start moving things away. One little thing that I also say is move whoever's furthest away from x. So 2 and x are just buddied up right here, and then you've got the 3 over here. So the 3 is who we're actually going to move first. It's being added, so the opposite operation is to subtract. So I get 2x equals 6. Now this is like a one-step equation. 2 and x are being multiplied, so you divide to get 2 by itself. X equals 3. And that's your answer. To check, you can put it back in and see if it's true. Again, you kind of ask yourself, x is being divided and 1 is being subtracted. Who's furthest away? Well, it's that subtracted 1. So you are going to add 1 first. Bring down what you have left. X divided by 3 equals 6. Now x is being divided by 3. How do you undo division? Well, you're going to multiply by 3. And just remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side in order to keep everything equal. Okay, the next one, draw your line. 3 and A are buddied up, so the 4 is who's going to get kicked out first. We're going to subtract it because it was being added. Those cancel. Bring down what you have left. 3A equals 7 minus 4 gives us 3. Be careful that when you, now we're going to divide here, make sure we divide by a negative 3. A equals 3 divided by 3 is 1, but there is a negative there, so it's a negative 1. Okay, number 6. Now, look at what's happening to x. 2 is being added, and then we're dividing. This guy is down on the bottom. We have to move him before we can move the other 2. So the first thing that I would do is multiply by the 2. These guys cancel. You have x plus 2 equals negative 6. Then to move this over, you need to subtract 2. So if I have negative 6 and I take away 2 more, I'm going to get negative 8. Couple more here. Draw your line. Who would get moved first? It's the 2. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Y equals 28 plus 2 is 30. When you are trying to separate these, remember they're being multiplied, so you divide. Y equals 30 divided by 5 is 6. Okay, number 8. We first have to move the 7 over. It's being subtracted, so you're going to add 7. Bring down what you have left. 2x equals 14. 2 and x are being multiplied, so you divide by 2. X equals 7. Couple more here. This is being divided. The 5 is the furthest away. I have to move that first. W minus 2 equals negative 1 times 5 is a negative 5. Then I need to add 2 to both sides. Negative 5 plus 2 gives you a negative 3. 5 was the winning team there. Next one here. The first guy that is moved is at 1. It's being added, so I subtract 1 from both sides. I end up with 2r equals negative 1 minus 1 gives you a negative 2. And then when I divide by 2 on both sides, I get r equals negative 1. It's negative divided by a positive. Next couple problems, I'm going to help you set up the equations, and then you guys can solve them. So it says a phone call costs 58 for the first 3 minutes and 15 cents for each additional minute. If the total charge of the call was $4.78, how many minutes was the call? So the first 3 minutes are 58 cents. But we have to add on 15 cents for every additional minute. Okay, so then it's going to be 58 cents, 15 times the minute minus 3. And the reason why we had to do that was because the total number of minutes minus 3 is what we times by this, equals 478. Or you could subtract that first 3 minutes at the end of the problem too. Okay, so this problem's a little bit trickier. That's okay. So I need to distribute this in. So plus 0.15 m, and then if you take 0.15 times 3, it's 45 cents. Okay, so I'll give you a little hint here. You can add these two together first. So this would be, you actually have to subtract them because this is negative and that's positive, or being subtracted. So if I subtract 5, I get a 3. If I subtract, well, that's 13. That was a tricky problem. So there, I leave this here. You guys finish solving it. Then the next one is like a translating. So it says 17 less than 4 times a number is 27. So 4 times a number minus 17, because you have to take 17 less than this, is 27. So there's your expression. You go ahead and solve it. Okay, so just make sure to show all of your work and to be thorough when you're doing the problems.